Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I really hope you're doing okay and having a great day and an amazing week. My name is Effy and today I'm doing a full face of products I want to try and use up by the end of the year. It's kind of like a project pan, but it's not as regimented and strict. I'm being a bit more liberal with myself. So basically I've picked a full face of products excluding brow products and setting spray and lip liner. Those are the only products not included. But the rest of the products on my face, I've selected them to try and use them up a little bit more throughout the rest of the year, see how it goes. Yeah, no pressure on myself or anything like that. I just want to try and get a bit more use out of these products. And as I start wearing makeup to work again, because I did stop for quite a while, but as I start wearing makeup to work again, it streamlines my choosing process, which I'm hoping will make it a bit easier for me. Because I can just be like, right, I don't need to think about what products I'm using, I'm just using these products and it's fine. But if that sounds interesting to you, then please do just keep on watching. If you enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing. I put up one video a week and it's always makeup content, so if that sounds like your type of thing, then this is the place for you. But other than that, I will let you watch this video. I hope you really enjoy it. So we're going to make a start with our eyes, and the eye primer I want to use up is the Collection Lasting Perfection Stretch Concealer and Eyeshadow Primer in shade 2 Porcelain. I've had this a long time. There is pan at the bottom of there. It's just sort of covered by a very thin layer of product. I'll put it on and chat over it. This is by far my most full coverage eye primer, and I just don't reach for it because I always reach for the Beauty Bay eye base. But this is actually really good. I also like using it as a concealer. I'll probably use it as a concealer later on in this video. So I reckon I could use it up using it as an eye primer, as a concealer pretty easily. It won't be too much hassle. I do really like it. It's super cheap. I think it's like maybe £3 or £4. Collection is a really good brand. I really like them. Not much else to say. Hopefully I'll get it used up. For eyeshadow, I was going to use the Lotus Cosmetics Rose Metals palette because this was in my project pan last year and I never hit any pan on it. However, I tried to film this video yesterday actually. I tried to film it about 3 times yesterday. We're not having the best luck. And the palette didn't work very well on my eyes. Like, it just wasn't working the way it used to. I think it's probably past its best and I'm just going to declutter it. Bit annoying because I've just finished my declutters, but I will declutter it. So instead, I switched it up and went for the Beauty Bay Bright Mattes palette. This is 42 shades and I have 1 pan. I think I can have more pans than that by the end of the year. And realistically, even though I mainly do makeup for work, occasionally for filming, I reckon even for work, the browns, the greys, the pinks, the oranges, the yellows, maybe even some of the greens, will still get used by me. So for today I'm going to use the blues and purples, but the other shades should still get used in my day-to-day, and again, I'll chat over it. First of all, it's really fun to be doing just a standard Effy style, bright, colourful look. I haven't used blue and purple eyeshadow palettes in a long time. I really like the look I've created. This palette has always worked absolutely beautifully. It blends so nicely. I will say there are 42 shades in here. I'm not going to use all 42. I reckon I probably will get use out of about 2/3 of the palette, but that is absolutely fine with me so long as I hit some more pans in it. Thankfully this palette does have some browns and greys, so my more neutral looks for work can be done and things like that. It is obviously a fully matte palette, but I have no issues pulling single eyeshadows or liquid glitters or just another palette to use a shimmer from it. I've actually gone in with a liquid glitter today and I really like how it looks. I am really happy with the look and I think the palette will get a lot of use. I reckon I can hit pan in a few more shades and it should be absolutely fine. This has been a palette that I've always sort of gone back to and gone to and fro between this and other palettes, but it is probably the best rainbow palette I have in my collection just because it pretty much has every colour you could ever need. I wish it had more greens, but other than that, it's absolutely fine. I do have the Bright 2.0 palette and that one has shimmers in it, and there will be a video of me testing that coming very soon, but for right now we're just going to focus on trying to use up the Bright Mattes and hopefully I can hit a few more pans. For primer, I'm going to use the NYX Marshmellow primer. I was very kindly sent this by NYX when I first started my YouTube channel, which sort of shows how long it is because I've been on YouTube for I think 3 years now. I do really like this primer. It still smells like Marshmellow. If it didn't, I would stop using it, but it still does, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that that means it's still in date. It does hydrate your face. It does give a very small amount of tackiness. It is a good primer. I do really like it. The only problem I have with the packaging is that once you press down the pump, it squeezes out a pump's worth of product, and then you release the pump and more product comes out. And I didn't know that when I first got it, and it led to a lot of mess, but now I know about it and it's not too bad. But yeah, this is actually a really nice primer. Foundation is the Collection Lasting Perfection Glow Foundation in shade 2 Porcelain. It matches the concealer. This is really old. Like, again, I've had it since the start of my channel, and I do think it's starting to not be as good as it used to be. But there's not much left in it. Like, I really struggle to pump any product out now. So much so that I'm just going to unscrew the lid and just take some off the stick. But I do really like this foundation. I will talk about it as I apply it. This is actually a really nice foundation. I've had compliments on it before from people, including my nan when she was alive. She actually really liked this foundation on me. I would say it's got a light to medium coverage. It does have some coverage in it, but it is still incredibly light coverage. I can still see all of my blemishes, all of my skin issues underneath, but that doesn't bother me for day-to-day, like office and things like that. At the end of the day, I can always use concealer and things like that if I really want to cover up certain areas of my face. But I do think this is a really nice foundation. It's only, I think, about £5 or £6. It has a nice glow. The shade match is actually really good for me, maybe slightly on the lighter side, but other than that, really good for me. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with the concealer I'm going to use as concealer, and I'll also go in with a little bit of the Lasting Perfection in a moment. But the concealer I want to use up is the XXRevolution concealer in CX1. Honestly, I only have 3 concealers left in my collection after my declutters. One of them I don't actually like that much, it's just there because I can't only have 2. And so this is actually one of my favourite concealers. I just need to finish one of them up, so it might as well be this one. This is a really nice concealer, and it's very different to my other favourite, which is the Rimmel Multitasker, because it's got a little bit more coverage, but it's also a little bit more like my skin shade. It's not as bright as the other one. I am also using a little bit of the pot concealer just on my blemishes as well. You should see that. But this concealer is actually super nice. It's not heavy, it's not matte, it's actually really nice for under the eyes, and like I said, it's not too bright, so if I don't fancy a super bright under eye, I can use it. And it's basically very similar to my skin tone, so if I want to use it on spots, if I'm not using the pot concealer, I can do, and it doesn't look ridiculous. But overall, like I said, I only have 3 concealers. I actually really like this one. I don't particularly want to use it all up, but I needed to pick one, and this was the one that I picked. Now I do have cream bronzer and cream blush, so we'll start with the cream blush. I've picked the XX Cloud Blush in the shade Cirrus. It looks like this. It's kind of a It's kind of a peachy pink, and I'm just going to apply it with a brush, and I'll talk over it as usual. This is actually one of my favourite cream blushes, but it is getting old. What I particularly like about this one is the colour of it. It can be made more pink or more peachy depending on what powder blush I use on top of it, but I do really like it. I actually like that it's in a pot because I get to just put my brush in there and apply as much as I want. I really like the shade. I just really quite like this product. I don't know if XXRevolution still sell it, but I do recommend it if you're interested in a new cream blush. Now for cream bronzer, we have the e.l.f. Putty bronzer in the shade Tan Lines. Again, cream bronzers normally don't work for me, but this one I find actually works like pretty alright. So I'm gonna try and use this one up. As far as cream bronzers go, I do actually really like this one. I think the shade actually works really nicely for me. I think personally, if I were doing a cream product, I would prefer it to be a cream contour over a cream bronzer, but I just want to get this one used up. I do think it works really nicely. You can go in with a small amount and build it up absolutely fine. It is, I would say, beginner friendly when it comes to cream products. A lot of products can be a bit more difficult, but I do actually think this is a really, really nice product. I also have one of their cream blushes. I really like that. They're Putty blushes. I think e.l.f. really just hit the mark when it comes to standard, good quality products at a really cheap price. Definitely worth checking them out. And now I need to powder down my face. I'm going to use the Revolution Translucent, I've just realised there's a stain on my top. Oh well. The Revolution Translucent Loose Baking Powder. I decant it into this because this is horrendous to use. But I've got through so much of this. If you watched my channel last year, you'll know that this was in my project pan and I worked through it at a snail's pace, but it is slowly going down and pretty soon I'll just empty all of it into this, but for now I'll just use this. Okay, scratch that. I've actually just emptied all of it into that other pot because it was annoying me. So that pot is actually now done, but this pot is now completely full. However, this is actually the pot for my old Primark powder, and it does have this lid where there's a net so you don't pick up too much product. There's probably still a little bit too much in there, but it will get used up slowly but surely. I think putting it into the other pot works really well. I forgot how much I actually enjoyed this packaging because it is super good at making sure you don't get too much product on your brush. I think now that it's all in one pot, I should use it up incredibly quickly. I was working through it so slowly in the original pot. I actually hate the original packaging. It's so unuseful, but hopefully now that it's in an actual powder pot, I can use it all up. I actually really like this powder. I always have done. I've been using it for years. I don't know if powder can go out of date. It probably can, but it's probably out of date, but I'm still going to use it. It just works really nicely. It powders down your face. It's not too heavy. It's not too dry. It's not too matte. Like, I still have quite a nice sheen to my skin, which I think is really nice. So let's move on to powder based products. I'm going to start with my powder bronzer, and I'm using the XXRevolution Bronze and Glow. The clasp has broken on this, so I'm a bit worried that this is going out of date a little bit quicker. It does have a highlight in here. In my project pan last year, I had that blush bronzer highlight trio, and I never used the highlight and I barely used the blush. I will try to use this highlight. I do have a highlighting palette in this in a moment, which you'll see, but I will try to use this if I can. But realistically, it's the bronzer, and in my mind, it's more of a contour than a bronzer. But let's chuck it on. I actually really enjoy this as a bronzer slash contour. I always struggle with where to put this in my makeup collection. Do I put it with my bronzers? Do I put it with my highlights? And I think it just often gets forgotten about. That's why I want to try and use it up. There is like a very small dent in the bronzer and a very small dent in the highlighter. I'm hoping to just get a bit more use out of them because the clasp is broken. I probably will definitely get rid of it in my next declutter, which will be this time next year. And I would just like to get a bit more use out of it before then. But it is actually a really nice contour. I do really like it. On days when I don't want to bronze, it will be a bit more obvious that I've contoured, but it is a really good product. Now for blush, we've got the MUA Blushed Matte Blush Powder in the shape of Papaya Whip. I had the shade Rose Tea, I think it was called, in my project pan last year. It didn't go very well, but this is my favourite blush. Blush is notoriously difficult to pan, and I'm aware of that now. But this is my favourite, so I'm going to use it all the time, and even if I don't hit pan or anything like that, I'm going to enjoy using it, and realistically it's the blush that's going to get the most use in my collection. Amazingly, I actually think that goes really well with the cream blush. I think together they sort of tone down the pinkiness of the cream blush and sort of make it a lot more peachy and warm, and it just looks really, really nice. I actually really like that combination together, which is good, because hopefully I'll use it fairly often. But like I said, that's one of my favourite blushes. I think it's like £3.50 or something like that from MUA. Super inexpensive, one of my favourites. I really like the cream, the Rose Tea shade as well. It's just more pink, and I tend to go for these shades a bit more often at the moment. Now for highlight, you've definitely seen this palette 1,000 times before. This is the XXRevolution highlight palette. Again, the clasp is broke. Revolution should maybe invest in better clasps that don't break as easily. I do have 2 pans, actually I have 3 pans. This has a pan in it, you just can't really see it. So I have 3 pans in this palette already. I would ideally like to use these 2 shades up because I do have one of her face duos which has these 2 shades in it. So I would like to finish these 2 up so I can move on to that and start using it. But realistically, I want to see pan in the gold. I want to see a an actual silver pan, because there is pan, it's just got a very small amount of product on top of it. So I want to see a proper pan in the pink. I can maybe try and hit pan on the silver and this shade. This shade works for me if I mix it with other shades, which I don't do very often. But yeah, I reckon I could do a bit more work on this palette. I've had this palette for the longest time. It's definitely one of the oldest products in general in my collection, but I do think I can get so much more use out of it before I throw it away. Again, clasp is broken, it's incredibly old, it's probably going to go in my next year's declutter. I'm hoping my declutters next year will be incredibly brutal and get rid of quite a lot of stuff, because a lot will be very out of date by then and I'll probably need to throw out a lot of stuff. But this highlight, it still works amazingly, it still looks super glowy, super nice. I can mix shades together. I take it on travelling when I go, I take it home when I go. It really is my everything palette, but I do just need to use it up and get it out of my collection. What I'm going to do now is go off camera and do my brows, because I'm not going to include brow products in this just because I work through my brow products at a standard pace anyway. And I will also do my lower lash line, and then we will come back, we will do mascara and lips. I think that's everything. And maybe a setting spray, but I'm not sure if I want to include setting sprays. We'll see. I'm back, brows are on, and I just used the exact same matte shades on my lower lash line just to keep it a bit more simple. Now let's use mascara, and the Beauty Crop Avocado Mascara. I was very kindly sent this by the Beauty Crop ages ago when I still lived in my old flat actually. So it's definitely time to use it up. But again, I do actually really like this mascara. Let's put it on. This is a really nice mascara. It's obviously not waterproof, and what I normally do is I top any non-waterproof mascara with a waterproof one just so that I can make sure it stays on my face all day throughout work. But once I finish filming this video, I'm actually going to take it off and go meet my friend for dinner before going to the gym. I would keep it on for dinner, but I am going to the gym straight after. So it is coming off. But I do really like this mascara. It's a really good everyday mascara, like I said, very kindly sent to me. I do really like it. It actually reminds me a lot of some of my other favourite mascaras, like the MAC Stack and the Lottie London Super Fake mascara. They all work really nicely together, all different price points if you want to check them out. But I do really like it, and I want to use it up. I have found quite a few mascaras that I like recently. If you've been watching my testing videos, you'll know that. And realistically, I can't have loads of open mascaras, so I might as well try and use one of them up. Now let's move on to lips. I am just going to use a random lip liner today. I'm not in any rush to use up any of my lip liners, but the lipstick I want to use up is the Soph lipstick in the shade Syrup. I have so nearly used this up. This is the closest I've ever get to finishing a lipstick ever, and I reckon I can use it up, and it still works beautifully. It's a creamy satiny formula, so I do have to reapply it if I wear it throughout the day. That works well for me. I'm trying to use it up. So what I'm going to do is just chuck on a random lip liner. I'm actually going to use the Soph one from her third collab that came in a set with a lip balm. I'll use this with the lipstick. One thing I really do enjoy about this lipstick is that if you put a warmer lip liner with it, it looks warmer. If you put a cooler lip liner with it, it looks a bit cooler toned. And I really like that versatility. It's not my absolute favourite that it's not a matte formula. As much as I've come away from my liquid lip days, I do still prefer a matte lipstick just because it does last a little bit longer. But I will still get use out of this. Like I said, it's the closest I've ever got to finishing a lipstick. It would be nice to actually finish it up, and obviously I do enjoy using it, otherwise I wouldn't have used it up so much. But there we go. I'm not going to include a setting spray in this because I don't know which one I would want to use up anyway. So yeah, this is the final look. These are all the products that I'm hoping to get a little bit more use out of. This will run till the end of the year. I reckon at the start of next year I'll let you know how I did. Maybe the first video back in the new year, I'll let you know how I got on with these products. And maybe I'll set up a new set of products for maybe 6 months and then do the same again, change it. But for right now, I'm just looking at myself in my monitor. I really like this look. Obviously the blues and the purples in the eye look won't be used every day for work, but for a fun kind of look, I like it. It's very basic, it's not very creative at all, but if you've watched my videos you know that I've not really been feeling very creative recently, so this will do. and I actually really like it. I was worried the lip and the blush wouldn't really go with the eyes, but I actually think it looks quite nice. Let me know what you think down in the comment section down below. Let me know which products you think I'll do well with. Let me know which products you don't think I'll do well with. If you watched my project pan last year, that will give you a bit more of a hint as to which products I do well with and which ones I don't. But let me know in your comments down below anyway. Let me know if you've set yourself any makeup goals for the year. But other than that, I'll let you go. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I put up one video a week and it's always makeup content. So if that sounds like this type of thing, then this is the place for you. I've forgotten my outro. I hope you have a great day, an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I don't think that's quite my outro, but it'll do. Bye.